Why are people not very interested in economics? Since you've picked up this book, you probably have at least a passing interest in economics. Even so, you may be reading this with some trepidation. Economics is supposed to be difficult. Perhaps not physics difficult, but demanding enough. Some of you may remember hearing an economist on the radio making an argument that sounded questionable, but accepting it because, after all, he is the expert, and you haven't even read a proper book on economics. But is economics really that difficult? It doesn't need to be, if it's explained in plain terms. In my previous book, 23 Things They Don't Tell You About Capitalism, I even stuck my neck out and said that 95% of economics is common sense, made to look difficult with the use of jargons and mathematics. Economics is not alone in appearing to be more difficult to outsiders than it really is. In any profession that involves some technical competence, be it economics, plumbing, or medicine, jargons that facilitate communication within the profession make its communication with outsiders more difficult. A little more cynically, all technical professions have an incentive to make themselves look more complicated than they really are, so that they can justify the high fees their members charge for their services. Even considering all this, economics has been uniquely successful in making the general public reluctant to engage with its territory. People express strong opinions on all sorts of things, despite not having the appropriate expertise: climate change, gay marriage, the Iraq War, nuclear power stations. But when it comes to economic issues, many people are not even interested, not to speak of not having a strong opinion about them. When was the last time you had a debate on the future of the euro, inequality in China, or the future of the American manufacturing industry? These issues can have a huge impact on your life, wherever you live, by affecting, positively or negatively, your job prospects, your wage, and eventually your pension. But you probably haven't thought about them seriously. This curious state of affairs is only partly explained by the fact that economic issues lack the visceral appeals that things like love, dislocation, death, and war have. It exists mainly because, especially in the last few decades, people have been led to believe that, like physics or chemistry, economics is a science in which there is only one correct answer to everything. Thus, non-experts should simply accept the professional consensus and stop thinking about it. Gregory Mankiw, the Harvard economics professor and the author of one of the most popular economics textbooks, says, "Economists like to strike the pose of a scientist. I know, because I often do it myself. When I teach undergraduates, I very consciously describe the field of economics as a science, so no student would start the course thinking he was embarking on some squishy academic endeavor." As it will become clearer throughout the book, however, economics can never be a science in the sense that physics or chemistry is. There are many different types of economic theory, each emphasizing different aspects of complex reality, making different moral and political value judgments, and drawing different conclusions. Moreover, economic theories constantly fail to predict real-world developments, even in areas on which they focus, not least because human beings have their own free will, unlike chemical molecules or physical objects. If there is no one right answer in economics, then we cannot leave it to the experts alone. This means that every responsible citizen needs to learn some economics. By this, I don't mean picking up a thick textbook and absorbing one particular economic point of view. What is needed is to learn economics in such a way that one becomes aware of different types of economic arguments and develops the critical faculty to judge which argument makes most sense in a given economic circumstance, and in light of which moral values and political goals. Note that I am not saying which argument is correct. This requires a book that discusses economics in a way that has not been tried, which I believe this book does.